Listen-only mode.
Welcome to the third webinar for Sustainable Westchester on the Community Choice Aggregation Implementation Process. We're partnered with Bedford 2020 in bringing this to you. My name is Leo Wiegman. Our illustrious colleague Mike Gordon we think he just landed in Paris, so he's not able to make the call, or if he is, he'll come in late. And we'll be joined later by Ellen Conrad of Bedford 2020. Today is December 7th, and this is all going to be available on, or is already available on the sustainablewestchester.org website for Community Choice Aggregation under the Community Toolkits tab. If we go to the agenda for today's call, we've taken care of item number 1. I want to thank you for participating, those of you who were on last week's session, or the first one we had 2 weeks ago. We're going to discuss a little bit of the municipal attorney input and contract review that we covered this morning with many municipal attorneys on a conference call, and run down the process for the timeline for community choice aggregation over the next 8 weeks with you, and then discuss some of the unprecedented opportunity for 100% renewable energy choices, which is going to be assisted by our strategic partnerships. If you have any questions during the call, you can submit them through the chat function that's on the side of your screen, and we'll be able to address them with you individually. Next slide, please. So here we are. Last week we covered the electric service agreement, which can be found at that link. You can view the recording as well as download the additional slides, or contact Glenn Weinberg for any questions. We've had a number of follow-up meetings with municipalities over the past week, and everything that we're doing now is sort of reflecting of the latest feedback we have, including our call this morning. Next slide, please. The municipal attorney call we had this morning, we had 10 municipal attorneys representing, I think, 16 or 17 of our member municipalities to seek their advice on how to best proceed with the relatively specific contracting arrangements that we need to enter into. So the consensus this morning was that we would draft a memorandum of understanding that would be between each of the 25 participating municipalities and Sustainable Westchester, and that would be an agreement to proceed with the signing of the energy service agreement, or what's shortened here as the ESA, contingent upon finding a creditworthy bidder and a compliant bid. So the second challenge we have is that we will also be trying to finalize the language and the terms and contracts as to form of the energy service agreement, from all the feedback that we've had from everyone we've spoken to up to this point. And a number of the attorneys this morning promised us additional feedback over the course of this week. So we hope to circulate memorandum of understanding, which we'll have as an attachment and exhibit this next version of the energy service agreement. And that's the service agreement that's 36 pages long in single space. So we'll try to make that as painless as possible for you. And it was certainly very helpful to have municipal attorneys on the phone talking with each other collaboratively to how to figure out how to get us through this process. The consensus was that our timeline, which we'll discuss in a moment, is very aggressive, but that it would be possible for municipalities to agree on the form of the contract for the electric service agreement and to sign the memorandum of understanding between now and the first week of January, given the timing of municipal board meetings over the holiday season. Since most municipalities have January 1 budget years, just basically exhausted themselves finalizing budgets for January 1. And some municipalities may plan to schedule a special meeting to accommodate this timeline for the sole purpose of discussing this memorandum of understanding with their boards. Next slide, please. So the key protections that we mean to extend to our municipal members are that we ultimately contract with a creditworthy supplier. We did speak with O'Connor Davies, which is a well-known auditing and accounting firm that many municipalities use, as a matter of fact, for audited financial statements, for an independent analysis of the bidders, likely bidders on creditworthiness or credit alternatives for the duration of the contract they would be signing with us. The second piece of protection is that given the highly dynamic nature of the energy markets, we are going to seek assistance from a leading consultancy, Concentric Energy Advisors in Washington, D.C. We do this as a matter of course all the time for commercial partners. And we're going to have them do some preliminary work based on the information we have about energy usage from the utilities, so they can be prepared when the hour of the bids being opened arrives, that they within 10 or 15 minutes can describe to us which of those bids are the compliant bids based on the 12-month being lower than the prior 12-month rolling average with the existing utility for each of the 2 utility service territories and each of the 2 different rate classes we're operating in. Secondly, we are collaborating with the Westchester County Information Technology, specifically the Geographic Information Systems Department, and Sam Weir there has been helpful to try to conduct a pilot on sample utility data in terms of names and addresses and tying those to specific accurate political jurisdictions of cities, towns, and villages. Because we don't want to be, at the end of the day, sending notices to people whose municipalities are not in the program, but who have an address that looks like it is in the program. And we think that the Con Edison, in particular, and NYSEG have done a pretty good job of giving us this information potentially accurately, but we want to vet that, particularly where we have border conditions, which houses are on which side of the street, houses with front yards in one town and backyards in another one that may not be in the program. So we'll be working with the county GIS team to try to be accurate about identifying an actual proper mailing list. And secondarily, we do not, even though the Public Service Commission order was written in a fashion that contemplated the municipalities or Sustainable Westchester on behalf of municipalities actually receiving account level detail information, we don't want to hold that information, and we want to use a process whereby at the end of the day, all we know about the account is the account holder's name and their mailing address and possibly their account number as a unique identifier, but nothing else about the usage at that account or anything like that. That information will travel from, at the end of the day, from Con Edison to probably a cybersecurity site, directly then to the winning third-party bidder, the winning ESCO, and never touch us. So the data privacy issue should be relatively straightforward and not a concern for the municipalities. Next slide, please. Our timeline, as I mentioned before, is aggressive, but it more or less needs to be for the following reasons. If we go all the way down to the bottom, if we anticipate that if we don't contract by March, in mid-March, energy supply companies basically buy their forward their electric supply for summers and for peaks, and that's a very expensive process to not be behind. In other words, we want to be in their portfolio well before they do that, as opposed to them going in and then having to estimate the impact of us having being the additional customers they need to serve. That's just the way the energy markets work, in particular this particular region, relative to electric supply and the summer. Now, for that matter, let's back up. We're going to be drafting the memorandum of understanding and finalizing all the comments on the electric service agreement by the end of this week. Next week, we'll circulate these to the attorneys and boards and councils, all 25 municipalities, for them to consider and put on a meeting agenda for discussion and resolution in late December or the week of January 1st or so, recognizing January 4th is the first business day of the new year. At the moment, we anticipate issuing a bid for the energy procurement, the RFP for energy procurement, on January 5th. That's an aggressive timetable, but it's followed by the following. We need to leave the bids open for 2 weeks, 10 business days, which brings us to the 19th. Well, the bids will be opened on the 19th, and the bids are perishable. Typically, they perish within an hour. And at maximum around the country, they're never open for more than 24 hours. And if someone leaves a bid open for 24 hours, they basically have to hedge that price because prices are changing all the time. We're going to get the best bid if we don't leave the price, if we don't leave it open for 24 hours. But at that point, everyone will be invited to a room or send a proxy, and all 25 municipalities will sign the agreements, assuming that our auditing firm confirms the creditworthiness of the lowest bidders or the best bidders, and that those bidders have bids that are compliant with the terms and conditions of the energy service agreement as verified by the our concentric energy consultant, which they can do telephonically within 15 minutes or so. After that period of time, we then go to Con Edison and NYSEG and ask them for the account names and addresses for all of the eligible customers in the 25 municipalities, which is at this moment over 130,000 eligible customers. We will pre-arrange notification letters to be pre-approved with probably everyone's logo on it, City of White Plains, Town of Somers, et cetera, et cetera. It'll probably be one or two different letters that will go out to everyone, as opposed to a single unique letter for each municipality, because the letters for many municipalities will be identical if you're in the same service territory as your neighbor. That will probably be done through a mail order, a mail house, and not necessarily involve a lot of envelope stuffing over the holiday or over a weekend at Village Hall or Town Hall. So that will be automated to its largest extent. Once those letters arrive, and we're going to estimate 5 days of mailing time for those letters to arrive, on estimated to be February 1st, a 20-day opt-out clock begins per the Public Service Commission order to us. We have to give people 20 days, business days, to be able to opt out of the program upon notification of the program. And we're adding an additional 3 days to that because there's a 3-day rescission period where people can essentially rescind it and change their mind. That means at the end of February 28th, we'll be transferring the customer data for everyone who has not opted out to the utilities, from the utilities to the cybersecurity portal to the winning supplier, and that therefore people would begin on the new service in the month of March, depending what the renewal, what the billing date cycle was on their current account. And so that's the timeline, and it's aggressive, but this is the one that we think will get us the best price going forward for the rest of the next 36 months. Next slide, please. So one of the opportunities we have, in addition to getting a good base price, lower than the 12-month trailing average, is being able to get a bulk discount on 100% renewable energy choice, which we think will be very attractive for a significant number of our constituents. We have essentially an unparalleled opportunity to expand the market for renewables by buying more of that here. And this is, we think, a tremendous opportunity. Other jurisdictions that have done this have seen 2 to 4% participation rate in when a program in California or a program in Massachusetts offers 100% renewable. And we right away think we can get to 10% of our customers choosing to opt up, if you will, to the 100% green. And we're doing that partly and mainly because we have a terrific partner for this communication and outreach, Bedford 2020, which is a local nonprofit that has been very successful in community outreach. And I'd love to turn it over to Ellen Conrad or Midge Iorio for their insights onto that process of outreach around 100% renewable.
All right, thank you, Leo. That was very informative and helpful. My name is Ellen Conrad, and I'm the co-president of Bedford 2020. Midge Iorio is our executive director. For those of you who are not familiar with Bedford 2020, since 2010, we have been focused almost exclusively on engaging citizens on clean energy. Basically, many of our 25 CCA towns have climate and sustainability goals. This gives all residents and small businesses a choice to join in that effort to meet their goals and priorities. It is really a fabulous vehicle for our citizens to participate in that 100% renewable now program. We are planning a wide range of engagement, programming, marketing, and education around this mission of preserving natural resources, addressing climate change, and taking advantage of 100% renewable option. Let's go to the next slide, please. Bedford 2020 is thrilled to be partnering with Sustainable Westchester in this effort. Over the past few months, you've seen a lot of great data-driven work bringing this program to life. We are very proud that Sustainable Westchester has chosen this enormous, wide-reaching partnership, not only with 25 municipalities, but also with Green E, Good Energy, the county GIS department. So I think we're all in pretty good hands. A lot of experts involved. Next slide, please. If you attended the first webinar 2 weeks ago, you heard Greg Hale from Governor Cuomo's office talk about the governor's recent renewable energy goals. I can confirm a New York Times story that appeared that the governor has announced he plans to order the Public Service Commission to mandate 50% renewable energy standards by 2030. This really is a program where all 25 municipalities are able to encourage residents and small businesses to opt up to 100% renewables now. It empowers all of our Westchester residents and small businesses to do something incredibly impactful today. This next slide is showing you a preview of coming attractions. This is going to be the homepage for the website. We're actually transitioning from the name that most of you are familiar with, the Community Choice Aggregation, or CCA, which is really an acronym for a process, but we're transferring it to Westchester Smart Power, which is a name that represents really the implementation of an energy transfer delivery system that gives people smart choices. Next slide, please. The Westchester Smart Power site, and we will be sending you more details about this website as we develop it. But the website is both a vehicle for residents and small businesses to easily receive all the information they need to make a choice. It's really a mechanism for making a choice, but it also delivers on one of the major values of this program, which is totally transcendent. You can look at the website and find out exactly what the power prices are, what your choices are. There have been a lot of complaints about earlier programs where once an ESCO has attracted a customer, they can raise prices and the customers really are not aware of it. So the transparency of this site is a really important feature. This last slide is one that talks about opt-up communications, and this is what Bedford 2020 is working on right now for all the municipalities involved in the program. We're working on a communication campaign and really a toolkit for promoting the 100% renewable option. We have actually already started partnering with various environmental leaders in Westchester, and specifically in the municipalities that are adopting the Westchester Smart Power program. We're establishing a network for getting this important information out to your residents and small businesses. And key elements in our outreach campaign would include what is listed on this slide: letters to residents and small businesses announcing the program, explaining the choices. Those letters would be sent by the municipality, but we will be working with you to develop the language for that letter. The website, which we've shown you just 2 slides, more to come on that. It will have a lot of FAQs about community choice that many of you have already asked those questions, but the consumers will also be asking. We plan to have a series of press releases for every town with templates for op-ed pieces or articles within a given town. And we also are planning a partnership with local affinity entities and organizations, especially sustainability groups, but also the much broader range of environmentally oriented entities that would care about this, such as land protection, nonprofits, garden clubs, organizations that are interested in health that would come with reduced pollution, Audubon chapters and other wildlife chapters that are concerned about species extinction. So it's a very, very broad brush with hopefully many organizations bringing their members on to an overall county-wide campaign to opt up to 100% renewable. I think the key point is that we are hoping to take the burden off of the municipalities to do this outreach and engagement. We will be working with you at every turn, but it means that you don't have to personally do that work. So I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen. I don't know if there are questions that are coming in over, are there any questions that are coming over the chat that we should address now, or otherwise we'll follow up individually with everyone. And this slide deck, as our previous two other slide decks, are available at the sustainablewestchester.org community toolkit /CCA webpage. We'll continue to post information there. In fact, this afternoon we just posted the timeline in more detail there as well that we are sharing with our municipal attorneys to work on this memorandum of understanding. So there'll be plenty of more information coming to you, all of you, and we appreciate it. Any further questions, or did we forget anything? No? In that case, thank you all very much for attending this webinar, and we'll have additional information for you at 4:30 next Monday afternoon. Thank you so much.